Hello and welcome to a new episode of Hit the Books Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And to our left is a new member of the team.
Hey!
Hello, I'm Nick Marlatt.
So Nick is going to be joining us. Hopefully this means you'll get more regular content, more regular episodes that you can find on YouTube and any podcast service of your choice. If you don't find us on a podcast service, just let me know. I'll put us on there. Hopefully this means that we'll have more of a easy rotation between everybody in case somebody's sick, somebody can't make it, anything like that. Having three members will make it much easier to keep things regular and up to date.
Apocalypse notwithstanding.
You're right.
Now, for any former members of the podcast that were wondering where we were, well, there is a pandemic. I have a child on the way. Emery switched jobs a couple times. I switched job one time. I'm sure you switched a job not too long ago.
Yeah.
So you know the world happens, and there's not much we can do about it. But hey, pandemics.
They're back, and I'm here. So
Yeah,
We back, and we brought another.
But yeah, the pandemic's finally over. We finally have a crew set. We got a new studio, as you can see, with new decorations, new lights. Upgraded infrastructure so we can kind of make this a little smoother for everybody. We're going to do a new format for the show. We're no longer going to focus exclusively on comic books on every episode. Instead, we're going to kind of branch out into the broader nerd realm, including video games, movies, still including comic books with that being a focus, Dungeons & Dragons.
It's so hot right now.
it is.
Yeah,
Very
anything you imagine, I'm sure it's in there. So I hope you look forward to that. We won't be doing topics of the show every single week anymore. That'll be more reserved for weeks where there's less news to try to keep the episodes to a shorter length, make it easier on everybody, both for editing and for actually filming the episode. And I'm sure all of you at home don't feel like sitting around listening to us for 3 or 4 hours. So hopefully that makes it more enjoyable for you. And we'll be probably snipping some parts of that as, small clips that we'll also upload separately if you just want to get some key points or focus on a specific news topic or something like that. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. So, in the terms of nerd, cinema, nerd books, nerd games, nerd everything, what have you guys been doing?
Well, one of the big things that I've been taking part in, and that Nick has been taking part in as well,
Indeed.
has been an ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign. And
Nerd!
okay, you get to say that because you're one of us.
How very dare you?
How very dare you indeed.
I'm taking it back. I'm making it a term of endearment.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's how you do it. You
Take the power back.
you take the bad term and you say only we get to use that word. Yeah, I went there.
See, that's another thing you're allowed to do that we can't do.
But yes, I've been running an ongoing D&D campaign that is going to be coming to a close soon, which will lead into another D&D campaign that's going to be run by our very own Nick Marlatt.
Yep, I'm taking the reins for the first time. So it should be a comedy of errors, but I look forward to seeing how you get me back for all of the things and all of the hell and torment I've put you through over the past 18, 20 months.
So we're going to emphasize comedy on that one. But yes, also to go along with that, we are hoping to very soon make Chris here one of us.
One of us.
One.
Trying to make me a fucking nerd like them.
How dare you?
I won't allow it.
Assume that you haven't been a nerd this whole goddamn time.
Exhibit A. What are we doing?
No, we'll see. We'll probably, if we do get this together, we should probably broadcast it. So you could probably look forward to that. Babby's first.
Babby's first D&D campaign.
And we definitely invite you to watch that, especially if you are also kind of D&D curious.
Speaking of which, you guys got a channel you're starting up for
Yes,
D&D,
we
correct?
are.
You want to give that a shout out?
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. So our new campaign will be streamed possibly on both Twitch and YouTube. Worst case, we will be streaming on Twitch with the copies being uploaded to YouTube shortly after the stream ends. And it will be twitch.tv/thosenatural1s.
So there you have it, folks. Those natural ones on Twitch.
Same on YouTube, but the YouTube algorithm is awesome right now for creating channel names. It doesn't really give you a channel name right up front until you hit like 100 subscribers, because apparently that's a thing.
I'm aware.
It's
I'm
it's
very
really
aware.
easy for people to find you when you don't have a name.
It hasn't gotten better. It was like that. When did we start the show, Emery? Like 5 years ago now.
Something like that, yeah. It was
it was the
at
same way
least
then.
like 2 years before the dread year 2020. Yes, that is going to be coming soon, and I cannot wait for the channel to roll out and for the
Yes.
character reveals.
Absolutely. So hopefully sometime early July-ish we'll be going live with that.
Very nice, very nice. So look forward to that, and make sure you keep an eye out. We'll obviously put it out there on our Twitter, Facebook, and all that stuff. So keep an eye on the social medias, and you'll know when it's about to begin. I should probably say, we're working with these new mics. We're trying to get used to them. So as we get used to them, we appreciate your patience. In addition to that, I had some surprise dental work done today. So I'm trying not to drool on myself, and I'm trying not to slur my words too much. And so apologies for that. There may be times where I need the other two great hosts to kind of lead things just so I don't stumble on my words too much. Not that I don't.
Can you feel your tongue yet?
I can feel about half of it.
Because that's the worst.
I can't feel this side of it, but I
Yeah.
can feel the other side. So
That's the worst.
I'm like over enunciating with my tongue to try to make sure
the
it's
best
moving
part
in the correct
is
way.
once it comes back and you realize all the times you bit it while you didn't realize it.
Oh, can
Yeah.
you feel it coming in
Yes.
the air tonight?
Yes.
Oh, well, Emery, which way is it coming in the air tonight?
I don't know. Ask Phil Collins.
I think Phil Collins was a dirty, dirty dog. That's what I think.
You would.
All right, so going forward, new format of the show is going to be focused primarily on news topics after the introductions. And if we have, time at the end of the show, we'll go into a topic of the show like we used to. And we will still give it a comic of the week, comic cover of the week, the very much esteemed award that we've given out for
Yes.
the duration of the show. So please look forward to that. And we'll also post it on social medias as well. And then if we have time, we'll throw in some deals that are out there that you can take advantage of in games, movies, books, etc. So, starting off, first news item. Overwatch 2 is officially going to be replacing the original game permanently. I don't know if any of you guys are Overwatch players, but obviously a very popular game.
I have never played Overwatch.
I have never wanted to play Overwatch. It's like I've seen this game. I've seen all of my friends play it, and I've seen footage of this game. And the most that I can gather from them moving from Overwatch to Overwatch 2 is we want to release it again so that you can all pay us for the game that you're already playing.
Well, I wanted to bring this up because I'm not an Overwatch player either. It looks like a fun game. I'm just not much in the PC competitive shooter world. The reason I wanted to bring this up primarily is to kind of generate some discussion about the permanence of these online-only, online-supported, especially multiplayer-driven video games. You see it with Warzone. A lot of people are afraid that the original Warzone is going to get taken over by Modern Warfare 2's version of Warzone.
Sure. The online-only, the massively multiplayer arena, I guess, not to say massively multiplayer arenas, that's a completely different genre, but the arena of which the massively multiplayer games live in is nothing new. I mean, they've been around since the late 90s with MUDs and MMORPGs and stuff like that, and they've done well. The biggest problem that I see, as well as most other people is your favorite game is 100% determined, or 100% based on whether or not people like it. So, like, I can go back and play Zelda, the original Zelda, anytime I want. I can't go back and play a dead MMORPG or Overwatch 1 anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's gone, it's gone, unless you get like emulators and stuff like that. But that's a whole different topic.
I think that's going to be like an ever-growing... I mean, everyone who's online now who like regularly watches Twitch, like the constant Twitch meta is always changing. Like the big game now is Dead by Daylight.
Okay.
Like the concept of playing a game where it's a cabin in the woods type thing where like all of you except for one are the survivors and one of you gets to be like the slasher.
Right.
Like it's a game that, novel idea, works really well, will be immediately replaced by the next hot thing as soon as someone comes up with the next hot thing. That's just the nature of these like massively multiplayer online games. It's just going to be a thing.
Sure.
Like PUBG used to be
PUBG
huge.
was huge for about 8 months, and then Fortnite came out and killed it.
Right. That it's cyclical. There's always going to be a cycle to it,
Sure.
which for games that you really like, it's going to be unfortunate to watch all of the friends that you were playing with move off to another game, but unfortunately it's inevitable.
From somebody who spent my late teens through my mid 20s playing MMOs. I mean, that's a thing. I've watched and followed groups and gone from one group to another group, going from one game to the next game to the next game, and there's always, you start out with a group that's, in my first MMO that I was in, we were in a guild of like close to 100 people, and then 50 of them went to this game, 50 of them went to that game, then we played in this game, and then 25 went to game number 3, while 25 went, and over the course of 6 years, you went from playing in a group of 100 people to playing in a group of 15. So it's it's interesting how, like, much like music and other forms of media, it seems as though video games itself has found its cycle. Sure.
Like with massively multiplayer online games, like going from PUBG to Fallout, and then to games like smaller games like Among Us, and like bigger games like I think it's called Fall Guys. That was like a really big one.
Yeah, I forgot about that game.
Yeah, it was like super weird art style. It was really fun just having a whole bunch of people run on this.
That ran really popular for about 35 minutes.
I mean, that's the half-life of these games now.
It's still sitting on my PS5, by the way.
Also,
The biggest
Half-Life
mistake
3.
that game made was not allowing you to have couch co-op.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
If they made it couch co-op, I think people would still be playing.
They probably would.
Yeah.
Also,
It'd be a perfect drinking game.
It is. It is.
Yes, that's what we want out of these games. We want them to like have time with our friends. These games got huge, especially during the times of the pandemic,
Oh yeah.
because like we're all going to want that connection. I think it's always going to be fascinating to just see where the collective unconscious goes. Because, like, right now, as far as I know, it's been on Dead by Daylight and, like, maybe here and there watching people play strange games like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it really tragic, though, because, we're all from a different generation of gaming. We're obviously not the primary clientele that is trying to...
Right.
We're not the Overwatch audience. That's probably more skewed towards a younger audience, somewhere,
Yeah,
teenage
for sure.
to early 20s. we're all old men, so somewhere up there. I'm not gonna say where, but we're up there.
Closer to middle age than teenage. At this
Yep.
point.
On the wrong side of 30.
We often enjoy the benefit, with the exception of some Nintendo withholdings. We generally are able to go back and play a lot of the games that we love to play as kids, and even the multiplayer games that came out as we were teenagers and hitting our adulthood, like Halo. Yeah. They gave you the ability to make your own private server, so you can still make a private server and play a competitive shooter with your friends. That's not going to exist with all of these online-only, large-scale multiplayer games like Warzone, like Overwatch. I'm sure League of Legends and stuff like that will be in the same boat when they're gone. Eventually, there's going to be a point where these games are not played anymore, and there's no way you can play them or go back and play them for nostalgia, for research, for historical value, for anything. And that's the part that upsets me the most, is that we're treating these games that took years and years of development, and then even more years of tweaking to the fan response and the player response, and knowing that history and that evolution, and just basically throwing it away. And who knows? There's games from our era that are completely lost to their original code, because somebody put it on, a floppy disk and threw it in the trash at some point, or the office flooded and they lost it and nobody knows where it is,
I kept trying to do that with Oregon Trail.
It just kept coming back.
It kept coming back. Coming back.
Coming back.
See, that's Collins coming back for you.
I swear to God.
To build off of what you were saying, from a marketing standpoint, it's a fantastic business model, because you don't have the stagnation of the older games that people have already purchased and the secondhand, like GameStop and everything like that. Mm-hmm. You have to go out and you get, even if it's a free game, then you have to buy all the little loot boxes and all of that stuff. There is no end to the purchasing.
Yeah,
right.
And you point out a good point. A big focus on the historical value is that all of this money and expenditure you're putting into these games, these online only games, once that game's gone, all that money's gone too, and you have nothing.
Exactly.
Like you can't even go back and enjoy it. You bought all these costumes and all these trinkets and all these weapons and whatever else, and you bought a custom house and a Final Fantasy 14 or something, and now you got nothing.
Like, which fucking edition did you get of that game?
Hopefully not the original.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there is a flip side to that too. Because there are games that have, and still to this day do continue to keep running, keep playing, keep having a consistent fan base who keeps coming back, or in some cases a rotating fan base.
You look at, it's always the topic of conversation, but look at World of Warcraft. It's been out for close to 20 years now at this point, and it's still going strong, But to go with what you were saying, subscription fees on massively multiplayer games, I cannot tell you how many thousands of dollars I have spent on MMOs back in the early 2000s when it was $15 a month, and I was playing like 3 or 4 of them at a time.
How did you have that much time?
Because I was a single kid in my late teens, early 20s, and
was this the one thing that you were doing outside of taking class?
Much.
Yeah.
And half the time I wasn't even taking class. I was taking class, playing MMOs, and I scheduled my classes in college. So I went to school on Monday and Wednesday, and I went from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but I only went Monday and Wednesday. So then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I delivered pizza in the evenings. So then I would work from like 6 until 10. And then I would play MMOs from about 10:30 when I got home until about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that sounds like college.
That's impressive.
Early 2000s college.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
I may have told this story on the show before, But my mom, when I was just about the age of getting ready to move out and do my own thing, my mom met this guy on the internet, and he was a World of Warcraft player. And during the span of their dating, he wanted to play World of Warcraft with her. So my mom got on that free, I think it was like up to level 20 you could play for free. Got on World of Warcraft and was playing with this guy she met on the internet, and that's how they courted each other. And my mom was not a gamer at all. She was learning everything from scratch. Yeah. Like we had a Nintendo, we had a Sega Genesis, we had a Atari, we had PlayStation, N64. Like we went up the gamut. And she didn't touch a single one of them. Yeah. Not once.
Sorry.
But she got so addicted to this game that she would literally go to work, come home, play from the moment she got home, all the way until she had to work the next day.
It was Penny from Big Bang Theory.
I would guess she maybe got like an hour or two of sleep at most on average. And she just like wrecked her health because she got so addicted so quickly. It was kind of concerning to watch because I had played World of Warcraft on the free demo for a little while. She eventually ended up buying it just so she could keep playing with him.
That's funny.
And I would play up to the level cap, and then once I couldn't really do anything further, I would jump to a different game that had another demo, like Rift. Rift was the one I jumped to.
Never played Rift, but
it was pretty fun.
I went back with when my wife was pregnant with our soon-to-be 10-year-old next month. She was more or less self-diagnosed bed rest because she had a lot of anxiety and everything. So we didn't do a lot while she was pregnant.
Yeah.
So I started playing World of Warcraft again, and I was like, hey, here, let me set you up with this. And so we would lay in bed on our laptops almost every night and sit there and play World of Warcraft together because there was nothing else we could do, and there's only so much TV we could watch. So
yeah, it's crazy, how addictive those games can be, and I get it, man. Like, as a person that's loved video games my whole life, and definitely, kind of classic elves, dwarves, fantasy style, like that's right up my alley.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of the things that, in terms of drugs, not only is the first hit free, it's also like the most legal thing you could ever get addicted to, and no one is going to tell you not to, as long as you are not a child.
Yeah, as long as you're paying your rent and your electric bill and your internet bill, no one's going to come after you.
Yes.
Now, in order to pay those things, you may need to have a job and show up to said job. If you don't show up to said job, then it becomes a problem.
Right. Speaking of bills, the next topic that we have actually brings in, kind of intertwines with what we've been talking about in terms of subscription services. This one being PlayStation Plus. For anyone who has been into PlayStation, they've made a change.
I'm an Xbox guy.
Oh, you're an Xbox guy?
Ew, the enemy.
Okay.
The enemy on the other side of the couch here.
Okay, we can chastise him all we want, but PlayStation is literally gone out of their way to attempt to compete with the Xbox Game Pass. And
I don't know if this is the right way to do it.
I don't know either, but man, they're really reaching. Like, Xbox has that one undeniably good feature in Game Pass with all of that access to all of those games.
Right.
Yep.
And PlayStation just took a look at their extensive library and said,
hey, we can do that too.
But what about us, though?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we have games that are older, that our ever older growing audience will want to play and reminisce and be made to feel like a child again.
Yeah, so we should, in case the audience isn't aware, let's run through it real quick. So PlayStation Plus used to be the kind of internet subscription in its first iteration, which I think was only on PS3, right?
It started on PS3.
Yeah, it wasn't on the PS2 functionality. On the PS3, it kind of came late, but it became a subscription that was kind of a really good deal, especially for the time,
Oh,
where
yeah.
you'd pay a fairly low amount of money, and they would give you 2 or 3 or 4 free games every single month, and that was it. Like, you could still play your games online for free. It didn't cost anything. And now Xbox kind of had the advantage, especially during PS3 era, because it had its own servers and
Xbox
everything,
Gold,
which
and
made the
stuff like
multiplayer
that,
experience so much better. And but the downside was you had to pay to
Right.
play those online
Exactly.
servers, and with that
Because
online
Microsoft
service.
wants their money.
With
Absolutely, they do.
which is funny because that's the reason I ended up getting a PS3 over an Xbox, because I didn't want to pay for the internet. But then when they came out with PS Plus as like an incentivized free games to a broke kid, it was like awesome. It was like, I think it averaged out to maybe $5 a month or something like that. And for that, I was getting a bunch of free games. Now, granted, I wasn't choosing the games,
Right.
but generally speaking, the games were pretty good, and they would last me, a long time. Definitely the entire month until the next set of games came. So it was a great deal, and I could still, if I didn't want to pay for it and I didn't want to renew it, I could do that and still play my games online and have a lot of fun.
You could stop at any time.
That changed with the PS4 era, where they decided, hey, we're going to kind of boost our internet infrastructure, our competitive multiplayer infrastructure, and try to compete more directly with Microsoft and Xbox, which, understandable. And so they made it so PS Plus not only gave you the free games, but now you had to have it to play competitive multiplayer games.
Sure.
And it gave you some other benefits, like it gave you free cloud saves, so if your system was shot or something happened, you wouldn't lose your game saves. You could download them from the cloud and retain them. Or if you're changing systems, say you got a new system for whatever reason, or you have another system in the house, you don't have to do the monotony of plugging a USB stick into it and taking it upstairs and reinstalling everything. So that was pretty nice. And again, Xbox stepped up their game, which is great. And they eventually came out with Game Pass, which is a great service, gave you this free games, and now it's even more
Now they have a whole
integral.
back catalog.
Yeah, so very impressive, and they've been kind of dominating that kind of online paid service functionality up until recently. So PlayStation did this out of necessity more than anything. And what they've done, it's a little confusing because they didn't really explain it very well when they showed it to everyone. For me on my PS5, it just kind of happened one day, and it showed me all these like charts that didn't make any sense because I didn't know what anything on it was. So they have not done a very good job of communicating that this is actually a pretty good deal. First, anybody that had an existing PS Plus subscription or service, they got moved to the Essential tier, which is the base level, same price, nothing changed as far as that goes. You still get your free games, you still get your cloud saves, you still get your competitive multiplayer servers, all that good stuff. Nothing changes for you if you want to stay that way. Then they added a middle tier called Extra, which is $100 a year at the base price. Now, nice thing about PlayStation Plus is you can almost always get it on sale. They always have the gift cards on Amazon or whatever at a sale price, and most people would wait for a sale to happen, get like 3 or 4 cards, and then stack their PlayStation Plus for like 3-4 years, which a lot of people did in anticipation of this, because then they could have their multi-years of service, and then they could just pay the prorated portion for the upgrade if they wanted to, which was probably smart to do.
Right.
Unfortunately, they cut that off. So if you were hoping
No
to
more
stack
gaming
years
the
of
system.
membership, you can't do it now. They've temporarily disabled that until they release the new cards and gift cards with the actual tiers on it. So for that Extra tier, which is an upgrade, it gives you a catalog of over 400 PS4 and PS5 games that you can download directly to your console, and you can play as long as your PS Plus Extra service is active, which is great. I'd say that's much more in line with what Xbox is doing with their Game Pass system. And then they have one tier beyond that called the Premium tier, which is $120 a year. So actually not too much more than the Extra. Honestly, you might as well shell out the extra $20 for the year
And the
to get the top tier.
$120 is pretty much right on par with Xbox with what Microsoft's doing anyway, because I'm pretty sure theirs is like $9.99 a month. So
Yeah.
it's
Which makes me think maybe they just put it in there to give you an option that's cheaper.
yeah, probably. It was probably marketing.
Yeah.
Some guy in marketing was like, you know what we could do? But
Yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah, I forgive me, I might be incorrect with this. I believe their Xbox does do a discount if you pay in a year, so that could be where the middle tier came from.
Yeah, where these pricing points usually come up with is if you're paying like this much a year, if you're trying to pay like monthly or every
Right.
3 months, those prices are always going to be like a little bit higher, like
Right.
in the long term.
Yep.
But that does give people who are not really sold on the whole thing yet a little bit more wiggle room to see whether or not this is right for them.
I am a little out of date. When I say I'm an Xbox guy, my last console was an Xbox One. Then I built a PC, which was better anyway. So I haven't. I'm
Here we
last,
go with the PC Master Race.
PC Master Race, absolutely 100%. I am last generation still on console. So
I mean, yeah, that's still pretty recent.
I mean, it's pretty
all
hard to
things considered.
find a modern
Yeah, it
generation
is.
console anyway. So
it is, but there's also the
surprisingly still tight.
trying to justify to myself to spend the money on one.
Yeah, that's fair, especially if you got a really good, gaming PC. Why would you even
Exactly.
bother?
Yeah.
Except to play maybe a few exclusives, but they're all coming to PC anyway, including PlayStation ones, which
Right.
I never thought I'd see happen. They're releasing PlayStation exclusives on
Yes.
PC, several years after the fact, but they're still doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, which is pretty cool to see. You'll just have to wait a little longer. But included in that premium tier for $120 a year, you get all those previous features and benefits with PS Now streaming, which was their streaming service they were trying to get off the ground for the longest time. I don't know how successful they were with it, but they kept adding games to it, so they must have been making something off of it. From what I hear, unless you had really, exemplary internet service, it probably wasn't working too well, especially on the PS4, which had a really bad internet setup.
I can say from experience, it really does depend on like how like high end the game is. Like just recently, I went back and tried a PS3 game. There's a Castlevania, and trying to think of the
Castlevania 46.
because there's that many.
Return to Castlevania.
For the 46th time. Now, this is the one of the weirdly like voiced by Hollywood actors ones that
fantastic.
directed by Kojima. All hail Kojima.
Castlevania.
The actual 3D ones, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
these are the 3D ones that are like Castlevania, but God of War, actually.
Yeah.
Castlevania Dracula's really dead this time, we swear.
we totally promise, guys. I went back and played that game, and it ran well more times than not. I'll say that much.
Great,
And
great.
mind you, that was that's a PS3 game that I was streaming. For anything like lower fidelity than that, I've tried a couple of them, and they've all come across in like my basic ass Spectrum internet service pretty fine.
Yeah, I would think the streaming would be perfect for like the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games, because look at the file size. Look at PlayStation 1 games on a single CD, there's not a lot of internet that needs to, you don't need a lot of bandwidth to stream that much information.
Right.
Yeah. I think where it gets a little finicky is obviously the more modern games, but also the multiplayer games.
Yeah.
Where you're streaming an input to an online server when you're also streaming the video game itself,
Right.
not natively on your console. But with the PS Now streaming, you can play PS1 games, PS2 games, and PS3 games. They do have PS4 games on there now. I don't know if there's any PS5. I would probably hope not, because it's probably not the best way to experience them.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
But anybody that previously had the PS Now subscription is now automatically enrolled in the premium service. So nice for them that they don't lose out on that investment. So.
Yeah. I will say I also did try streaming the latest Spider-Man game, Miles Morales. You should just buy the game. I mean, it's nice that they're trying, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
No. So there it is. It's very confusing. I think they definitely could have communicated it better. And honestly, I think they would have been better off just making 2 tiers, making PS Plus the regular that everybody's going to pay for because everybody's playing multiplayer games nowadays. And honestly, why would you pass on free games every month anyway? Especially when it's that affordable. I really don't think the $20 makes a big enough difference for people to hop over, one from the other. And having the entire catalog of PS Now is great. It really is the only way to play PS3 games now, unless you have a PS3 console with the physical game. Right. Because the online store on the PS3, I believe, doesn't work anymore. They discontinued service to it, along with the PSP and the PS Vita might be coming soon, I think.
Yeah, those are going the way of the dinosaur.
So, like we were saying earlier, with all of these online services, online games, they're not going to be around forever. So you got to make plans.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And honestly, a lot of people, who sell their consoles after the generation passes, maybe hold on to them, especially if they have physical.
Held on to all of my old consoles.
Yeah.
But I was a greedy, poor kid, and I was like, hey, I can sell my N64 for like $30 and buy a new, Xbox 360 game or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite meme. Upgrades, people, upgrades.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let that be a lesson to you, kids. Keep your game systems.
Yeah,
of course, they're all going to be on streaming on their phone anyway.
Yeah, there is no going back to the previous conversation. There won't be any game systems.
Yeah, PSP and PS Vita saying that those things went the way of the dinosaur.
I forgot about the Vita. To be completely honest, I completely forgot.
Does.
Most people did. Most people did.
I was trying to say PS Vita and I said PSP instead.
Yeah.
So that tells you anything. And I am the PlayStation fanboy.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. There is a PSP game that is finally getting a remaster, which leads us into our next topic.
Well, if you look at my shirt, you'll see I'm wearing my pride and joy. If anybody's watched the show for any length of time or knows me, Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game of all time. I don't care what anybody says. There's all these... I don't know, these people trying to rewrite history, saying Final Fantasy VI is the best, and everybody's Final Fantasy V is the new favorite kid on the block.
I started with 8. 8 will always be my favorite.
And that seems to be a common theme. I think that most people like the one they started with, unless it was just a dog shit game.
Yeah. 8 was the first Final Fantasy I actually got into. I played around a little bit with the original Nintendo version of Final Fantasy whatever the hell it was that came over.
For us it was 1, 2, 3 and then you kind of had to go back and play the other ones on ports.
Yeah.
But I
3 being 6.
3 being 6, yes. But 8 was by far 8 was the one that I actually played from start to finish. So that was that's my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started on Final Fantasy VII, so there's probably something there. I do still play that game at least once every year. I play it pretty much all the way through. Yeah. And I'm so tedious with it that in order to play the remake, I force myself to play it all the way through again before I would even take off the plastic on it. And I'm so persnickety about it that I want the best experience with it at all times. So I got about probably halfway through the remake, stopped because the PS5 was coming out, and I'm like, I'm going to play this on my PS5 because it kind of makes things run better. Not that it ran bad, it ran great, but
run even better.
And then they announced that they were going to make a PS5 specific port for it that was a free upgrade. And so I'm like, well, I won't beat it yet. I'll wait for the free upgrade. And now I'm at a point where I'm halfway through the game. I don't even remember how to play it anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm either going to have to start from scratch on the
Oh,
PS5
no.
upgraded version.
Oh no!
So
I'm gonna have to start from scratch.
Or
Playing this
I
game that I
gotta
like.
I gotta jump in and hope I figure it out quick enough to remember what the fuck
Right.
happened earlier in the remake. And the remake they changed stuff, so it's kind of alienating for a lot of people.
Can I ask a legitimate question? At this point in its life cycle, what number remake are we on? Because I
So-
feel like it's like 62.
So-
You know, okay. When it comes to the remakes for Final Fantasy VII, this most recent one that they released a couple years ago has been like this is the one that matters. All of the other ones, like the prequels and the sequels and the whatnot.
Yeah, there's prequels, sequels. There's a movie.
yeah,
Advent Children. There's bullshit.
is
There's bullshit.
There's
a
bullshit
whole lot
anime
of-
spin-offs. And,
Oh, yeah.
a fucking phone game that you could only play in Japan.
Square
Yeah.
Enix, for the love of... This is part of the news, but for the love of God, stop putting so much money into these fucking phone games. No one wants to play these games on their phone.
Yes, thank you.
They keep
yes.
doing it.
That includes your new fucking mobile game. Well, it's not Ever Crisis, although that one is playable on the phone. It's the one that Final Fantasy VII Fortnite. I don't know why they thought that this was a good idea. This is
Stupid.
like,
Please stop.
why would you make a Fortnite game that you play on your phone? Oh my god.
Yeah. Square Enix just up there. Please clap. Please. Jeb Bush.
No, it's a fucking Diablo Immortal all over again. It's like
Diablo again.
It's like, what? Do you guys not have phones? Like,
It's annoying.
Did that game even make it to release?
it not only has it been released recently, it has made a stupid amount of money from Twitch streamers who are trying to show how absolutely awful their monetization
fantastic.
is.
The Morbius effect.
Yeah.
It's Morbin time.
No,
So-
we'll actually watch it this time. We swear. You just need to release it for a third time. It's fine.
We were just all at work that weekend. I'm sorry.
So ridiculous. I love it though. The internet's such a shit show. I love it.
Every time.
Our people. So anyway, Final Fantasy has its 25th anniversary this year. Makes me feel old. And they announced a ton of Final Fantasy VII content, which probably pisses off every other Final Fantasy fan. Like Final Fantasy VIII. I'm sorry, brother. You're never gonna see that game
No,
again.
I'm
There's
not.
You're not gonna see a remake. You know, they're talking about Final Fantasy IX,
Yeah.
which I didn't.
I
didn't like Final Fantasy IX at all.
I think I played 9. I went from 8 to 10. I don't think I played 9. at all.
You should play 9.
Yeah.
As a really big fan of 9, you should play 9 at least once.
Okay.
That being said,
If you're
They
into
did-
furries, you'll enjoy 9.
I swear to God.
Wait, was 9 the one with like the little?
The little monkey boy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. No, I did not play that.
Yeah.
It's worth playing for people that like the classic,
Yeah.
knights and whatever
Yeah, that-
version of Final Fantasy. I like the more futuristic version of
Yes.
Final Fantasy.
Fans of like the first 6 like 8-bit video games, Final Fantasy IX scratches that itch all the way to completion.
Yeah. And graphically, they did some pretty impressive things on the PS1.
Oh.
Because it came very late in the PS1's
Yeah,
lifetime.
because it was like right before the PS2 came out, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was like the passion project of Sakaguchi. Hironobu Sakaguchi, the guy who had been making all of those games up till 10, and at 10 he finally said, okay, Nomura, you can take over.
Yeah, and then that's why 10 is so completely different.
Oh,
The fucking Aqua Soccer game, or whatever it was.
I fucking love Blitzball, dude.
Blitzball, thank you.
Don't you disparage
I'm not-
Blitzball with your whore mouth, all right?
I liked it too. It was fun, but it was so incredibly not Final Fantasy at the time.
It had nothing to do with Final Fantasy, but I loved it.
It was.
It's like Final Fantasy VIII, your fave. We're going around asking everybody to play cards. That has nothing. That's all I did that entire game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's play cards.
Yes, Final Fantasy VIII has the card game.
Now, speaking of mobile games, that's what Square Enix should be doing with these mobile games. Just make all the card games and all the simple mini games and just make them more advanced.
Yeah,
as mobile games.
If Witcher's Gwent is anything to go by, yes.
People love
just make the card game its own
mobile.
game.
Absolutely.
That's the one form of game I love playing on mobile.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But this 7 here, they have not only announced a second chapter to the remake of the original, they have announced finally a remastering up to the point of nearly being a remake of the PSP game Crisis Core, which, if you know anything about some of the intricacies of all of the shit that they were trying to do with this game, the biggest reason why that game got held up is because there's this Japanese pop star named Gact who decided to lend his entire face to a character who was basically a, I want to be the guy too! Screw Sephiroth! Oh wait, Sephiroth nearly killed me. Why am I in this game again?
Nobody knows.
What am I doing here?
But yeah, it was... I don't know if you guys watched the streams and watched the previews and all that stuff. I thought it was a really cool, nice event for fans for the most part. You know, mobile stuff aside, mobile stuff's annoying. Yeah. They also talked a little bit about Final Fantasy 16, which is coming up soon here. They gave that little teaser of Kingdom Hearts 4, which I mean, I loved Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, I really did. And Kingdom Hearts 3 came out with no Final Fantasy characters in it.
Fantastic.
What?
Okay.
The whole point was that it's a merger of Final Fantasy and Disney.
Hey, you can still have Donald.
Donald, no!
Like, what are you doing? So, I haven't played much into the game. I have it sitting on my hard drive like everything else, but
Sure.
I was so disappointed when I found out there's no Final Fantasy characters. Like,
I mean, I'm sure you can find Final Fantasy characters in, like, the 16 games that take place between 2 and 3.
That's mostly true. Again, there's like 8 mobile games that have core story details that you can't get unless you play the fucking mobile versions.
Nomura, you greedy son of a bitch. Just make mainline numbered games.
Right.
But
We do not need games with the title Birth by Sleep or 358 Days Over 2?
Yeah.
Why is this a fraction? What are you doing here?
As ridiculous as Square Enix is, they put together a nice little show that got me excited for Final Fantasy VII again. Nobody was crying this time, like in the first remake reveal, where there's just viral video after viral video of people like bawling their eyes out. And I think it's because of the bullshit they're doing with changing the actual timeline with these fucking phantom things and
Spoiler alert.
visions.
Spoiler alert. If you haven't played the remake of Final Fantasy VII, one of the things that you've probably seen videos on in like the past 3 years are people talking about why did we put these weird ghost things that belong in Kingdom Hearts in a mainline remake of Final Fantasy VII, where we're alluding to the possibility that we're going to change the story that you came here for in the first place. What? Oh my god!
And I don't disparage them too much for like wanting to go into a different direction. I just wish they weren't so half-assed with it because they're putting one toe in the water to see how fans react. They're like, oh, we might want to change the story. We might want to change the timeline. Maybe Zack's alive. I don't know. Maybe.
Here's the thing about that. The people who are buying a remake are buying it because it's a remake of the game that they like. They are not looking for a completely different... They want an updated version of the experience they had the first time they played it.
Yeah.
They don't want a new storyline. That's going to piss people off.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Especially something like Final Fantasy VII, which is, even though it's not my personal favorite, it is highly regarded as the most popular and the best Final Fantasy game in history.
That people have actually played.
You can't change that and then expect people to be happy with the fact that they're now playing something that's completely different than what they signed on for.
Now, mind you,
it's very risky.
There is exactly one reason why they think they can, and that's Ever Crisis. The mobile version of Final Fantasy VII that they're releasing in pieces because this is the updated version of the game that we all actually wanted. Yeah. But then they wowed and razzle-dazzled us with the super-duper high fidelity of like the PS4 and now the PS5. But here we're going to use the excuse of, we want to make the changes that we always wanted to make this whole time. And
that's not what you need to do, though.
Now, Ever Crisis is supposed to take the place, like Emery said, of a remake.
Yeah, but
it's basically just upscaled modern graphics with the same, more or less, systems in place. The problem is, it's exclusive to fucking mobile.
If you want to create a new story, fine. Do that. Don't market it as a remake.
Yeah.
Market it as Final Fantasy 7.5 or something.
Thank you.
Don't market it as a remake if it's not a plot by plot remake.
Yeah. So there's no doubt it's going to alienate some fans. I think they've already alienated at least a small sector of the fans, but I think generally the game was so good and polished that people forgave a lot of that stuff.
Sure.
I certainly did. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. I do think like the key like emotional story points, that's what I'm a little worried about for newer fans that never played the original or haven't played the original. And I'm sure a lot of the story of the original has been spoiled at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, the
from
game's
memes and everything
old.
else. And they kind of allude to it in the trailer for the second part. But I feel like that needs to have the impact, and if they keep alluding to it and they change the story entirely, it's gonna fuck it up. You're not gonna get that emotional moment, and
absolutely.
that's what not the moment not only makes Sephiroth, because he had the balls to do that in the middle of your fucking game after you invested all of this time and energy.
I don't think you need to spoiler alert something that's 25 years old. I think
Fair.
that's past the.
It's hard to avoid.
Okay, here's the thing. You shouldn't have to say spoiler alert for something that's 25 years old. But then some fucking hotshot executive says, there's a lot of things that we didn't get to put in this game before, like Barrett dying in like the first 4 hours of the original game. I want to allude to that so we can make people feel like, no one is safe. Also, these characters that die off really quickly, I kind of want to backdoor them into still being alive so that maybe I can kill them later.
Yeah.
It's them trying to have it every which way but loose, and I think it's going to become very obvious in the coming days.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, us Final Fantasy people, we got a lot to look forward to. Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, which is Remake Part 2, which is coming eventually. Again, they haven't put a fucking date on it. How long have we been waiting? It's been 2 years since
yeah, something like that.
Crisis Core Reunion, which is the kind of remaster remake of the original PSP game. That's coming at the end of this year, supposedly. And then Ever Crisis, the mobile game. Who gives a fuck?
It's like, I want that game, but not on my phone.
No.
What the... Guys, come on.
So there you have it, folks. Final Fantasy VII. You're getting a lot of it.
Oh. Sorry. Dropped my mic pack.
Oh, hey.
Just fell off the side of the couch.
Keep your pants on, please.
Ew.
Next up on the news, Kevin Smith confirmed on his one of his many, what does he call it, Smodcast?
Is it the... Are we
Smith
on
Podcast?
Fat Man Beyond, or...
No, it's on Hollywood Babylon. He confirmed that
he's got like 5 different ones. I swear, it's
Yeah.
so much to keep track of.
He's on
Right.
a lot. And I love Kevin Smith, so why not?
Right.
Be on everything if you want to.
He's earned it.
He did confirm that his crew is working on Masters of the Universe Season 2 for Netflix. Seems like most Kevin Smith stuff, this first season was received well. Not overwhelmingly, but definitely well. I didn't watch it. Did you guys
I didn't want
take
to.
a gander at it?
Not particularly, but that's only because my only real connection to He-Man was the that remake of that Four Non Blonde song that got put to YouTube.
Yes.
Like that's my only connection.
What's going on?
Yes.
And I said, "Hey, yeah." That's my only connection to the character.
Sure.
Otherwise, I don't give a shit about He-Man, She-Ra, these
that was-
other characters. Here's the thing. If this were Thundercats, I would be all over this fucking thing. But it's not. It's just that other set of toys that I never got into.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We're, like you said before, we're the wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
But even He-Man that was like my brother. My brother was into He-Man, and he's 7 years older than me.
Yeah.
So that just wasn't a thing. for me.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, by the time I was old enough to care,
Right.
it was long gone and outdated. So yeah, I also wasn't into He-Man. Didn't know anybody in the He-Man. Even I kind of grew up with an uncle. I think he's eight years older than me, and even he didn't give a fuck about He-Man.
Sure.
Like just. We had the Ninja Turtles and
Yes.
Transformers and all that stuff. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
honestly
I'd be
way cooler to me.
Super
but,
excited about an original 80s Ninja Turtles remake than He-Man.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they have fans that they're still selling comics. They're still putting content out. Obviously, Kevin Smith's a big fan of them. So
Still selling toys somehow.
more power to you.
Yeah.
You have the power. But yeah, look forward to that. If you were a fan of Masters of the Universe or She-Ra or He-Man,
Yeah.
you're getting more of them.
Congratulations, you
Power
made
of
it.
Grayskull, right? Is that the right
Yeah.
thing?
Yes,
I
Okay.
by
believe
the
so.
power of Grayskull.
I honestly
That's
think-
the castle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
honestly think that the kids who could afford the He-Man toys were like the only fans.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
if you were a kid that was too poor to get the Grayskull toy set and stuff, I don't think you gave a fuck about them
Absolutely.
because the cartoon was pretty terrible. I mean, I've gone back and watched some of those episodes, and I mean, the animation's super janky. Like
Yeah.
it was made by a toy company to sell toys.
Absolutely.
Like most 80s cartoons.
Yeah, I was into much higher brow material, like the Power Rangers and the X-Men.
Yes, the Power Rangers.
Yes, you got to see real people in real costumes doing completely real fighting. It was real, right? That wasn't just a choreographed dance that
And
they were
it
doing.
absolutely was the same show. It wasn't a complete dub of a Japanese show that then they put American actors in when they didn't have masks on. That wasn't a thing at all.
Oh,
So, fun fact for you. You know how, generally speaking, Power Rangers, they use the Japanese fight footage in
Right.
costume, and then
Yes.
they just recorded the kids,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the scenes without the
That was
helmets
the
on
joke
and stuff
that
like
I
that.
just made like 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
I'm glad you caught on to that.
Just for the general audience. Not everybody's watching Power Rangers anymore. But
that's fair.
for the American audiences, they weren't allowed to strike to the head or anything like that, or do anything that would look injurious
Really?
on American television. So if you notice in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they would always have to hit them in their little chest plate. And that's why they had those stupid chest plates and all I can't remember, the Gumby things or whatever they call them.
Putties.
Putties.
I don't
Putties.
know why that just popped into my head. I haven't thought of that word in probably 20 years.
I couldn't remember
it's
what it
fucking
was.
easy to remember. That's
Yeah.
how it fucking works.
But yeah,
Marketing.
that's why they had to defeat him by hitting him in the chest. And
Oh,
they would always flash and disappear after they
Yeah.
got hit in the chest.
interesting.
And
Yeah.
they made my favorite sound in the world, the Whoever came up with that was a fucking genius.
Yeah,
These things sound like turkeys.
so yeah,
Of
they
all
had,
the things they could have sounded like.
those poor editing teams. They had to find ways to edit them, like hitting the chest in the middle of all these like chaotic scenes. So that must have been a nightmare.
And I'm sure those kids who totally weren't in their 20s doing this,
Yeah.
just asking, can we please do headshots? I know how to... Come on, please. It just... Okay. No, just... It's
like
wrestling.
playing bop it,
wrestling.
you know, bop it. Next up on the news, Indiana Jones 5.
Indiana Jones and the
Yeah.
retirement home of... I don't know.
It's still a thing.
It's still the retirement home of doom.
Hopefully
Yes.
there's less aliens this time,
Yes.
and digital CGI ants and Shia LaBeouf.
As long as there's less Shia LaBeouf.
I feel like
sorry
something
out
else is
there
going to
for
be
anybody,
digital at this point.
Unfortunately for anybody looking forward to this movie,
Oh.
Harrison Ford has once again hurt himself. So the movie is indefinitely delayed. The man is 79 years old.
And
Trying
I
to
am
film an
sure
action movie.
He is 100% sober on every single
Yeah.
film okay, too. Because I don't know if you've ever seen an interview with Harrison Ford,
Oh, it's brutal.
but
It's brutal.
I don't think that man has
He's
been...
not there.
Did you...
And he's not trying to be.
No.
So there was a story, I don't know if this is true or not, but it was a meme on the internet, so it has to be true, right? There was a story about a guy, I forget which actor it was, but an actor on the set of Star Wars who walked in and he didn't realize that Harrison Ford was in the movie. He's like, "What's my weed dealer doing here?"
That
Classic.
I completely believe.
I know. Like I said, it's a meme on the internet, so it has to be true, right?
Someone confirm.
Yeah.
If
It won't be me. We'll see.
Do we-
Check the edits.
Anybody who's watching this that happened to work on Star Wars, because I know you're out there, let us know if that's true.
Sound off in the comments.
George Lucas. He's got nothing but time on his hands.
Yeah.
What's he doing? Just enjoying his $1 billion. Like, come on.
Dealing weed to Harrison Ford.
But yeah, I put this in the news. I am an Indiana Jones fan. I think
Yes. I like
most
Harrison
people really like the first and third movie, The Last Crusade and
Yes.
Ark of the Covenant. What was
That
that one
was
called?
Last Crusade.
Latest.
Yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Temple of
sorry.
Doom will
Last Crusade.
always have a special place in my heart.
I hated it. I still to this day
I
hate
liked
it.
all three of the original ones.
Yeah.
The Crystal Skull should never have been made.
No, it's awful.
God.
Crystal
very
Skull
awful.
was 100% fan service and 100% terrible.
Yeah.
Yes, both of those things are true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I bring it up because Harrison Ford's such a big icon, and this really smells like the Bruce Willis thing that recently came out over the past few months about him having aphasia and how he was pushing himself into all of these movie roles to basically make money for his family
Right.
before he was too far gone with his his cerebral health.
Sure.
And now I'm worried that Harrison Ford is probably doing something
mean,
similar.
If you're Harrison Ford, though, how much more money do you really need to make?
I guess
your
it depends on how much your family's spending.
That's true, but I mean, can you think of the amount of money he's making off of like Star Wars royalties
Yeah, I'm
and
sure.
Indiana Jones
He
royalties?
crashes a lot of planes, though.
That's true.
Where's
Plus,
his money going?
you know-
To his next plane repair. Not
His-
just a new plane, a repair.
His biggest moneymaker, The Fugitive.
God.
I'm sure. I'm sure he's raking in the dough on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
there's
the-
totally a bunch of toys and a real
All the
dedicated
USA,
fan base.
USA Network syndication.
Oh God! See, I want like a toy setup of him in that like
In the
sewer
tube.
drain. Yeah,
With
it's like fucking Tommy Lee
Yeah,
Jones.
Tommy Lee
It's
Jones.
like
I don't care. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
Thank you, Tommy Lee Jones.
That was the worst Tommy Lee Jones impersonation I think ever, but
Oh, there's a worse Tommy Lee Jones impersonation by Tommy Lee Jones. It's called Batman Forever.
Don't bring up those things in my presence.
all right.
All right. These are hallowed grounds. All right.
Unpopular opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Batman Forever, even to this day. It's a guilty pleasure.
Okay.
It's
Guilty
not as
ple-
bad as Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin is garbage. It is absolute filth.
I will give you some
But-
rope with that one.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Okay.
Val Kilmer played a great Bruce Wayne. I don't care if you agree with me or not. I will die on this rock. Val Kilmer did a fantastic job. Jim Carrey was entertaining as the Riddler. And Tommy Lee Jones was Tommy Lee Jones.
This is not something I thought would come up on this episode. Nick, you've done it again.
That's what I'm here for. That's why you brought me in. To take this plot
The
line
quality
and
Batman
go
Forever.
that way.
You know, that's an untapped audience out there. The Batman Forever people.
It's one of those, just shut your brain off and just enjoy the ride.
Now, mind you, I'm a huge fan of Jim Carrey, which is why I didn't mind him in that
Yes.
movie. But Tommy Lee Jones trying to be another Jim Carrey in the same fucking movie, guys, let's just let Jim Carrey do his thing.
If they would have made it just Jim Carrey, it would have been better. Tommy Lee Jones, the problem I see is Tommy Lee Jones almost tried to embody Jack Nicholson's Joker performance.
Yeah.
Because it's so similar in the way he delivers everything that it almost just seems like it's like the Wish.com version of Jack Nicklaus. I just said Jack Nicklaus, not the golfer, clearly.
Nicholson.
Nicholson, thank you.
Mommy,
Don't worry,
I
I'll
want
totally
the
edit that
Joker.
I'm sure you will.
This is like the Joker at home meme.
Yes.
It's like, Mommy, I want the real Joker. Son, we have the Joker at home. The Joker at home. Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, just wait
Why?
till you see the new one. He's coming.
The new one.
Horrible prosthetic face.
Which new one are we talking about?
In the Batman. Yeah.
Oh no, God.
I
Yeah.
still have not seen
Or
that.
the Cure, starring the Cure.
I
If
I need to
you
go
do
home.
what you just said for Batman Forever
Yeah.
and you shut off your brain and you don't think about anything that's happening, you will love the visuals. You'll
Yeah.
love the music.
I
You'll,
heard it's
You'll
really
love the
good.
pacing.
And
You'll
it's
love.
on HBO.
You'll
so-
love what they tried to do.
Yeah.
If you think about it for more than 2 seconds, you will hate it. Especially the third act. Especially the third.
I have so many opinions, but that's a whole nother video.
That'd
That's
be
a whole
that'd be
nother
another
video.
2 hours, which we did record on my phone. I still have the footage, so I might release it. We'll see.
There
Yeah,
you go.
we'll see.
It was a little rough because I had a crack in my phone lens, so it looks a little blurry. I don't know if it'd be fun to watch.
This all came from Indiana Jones 5.
Yes.
by the way.
Yeah.
This entire conversation started.
Which I
because
thought was going to
Harrison
be a
Ford
really
broke his
quick
leg.
topic, honestly. But yeah, the whole point of that original conversation, Harrison Ford, get well soon.
Yes.
Don't force yourself to do this movie. We don't need it.
No.
We really
really
don't.
We could have stopped at 3.
Y-
We should have stopped at 3.
Yes.
You did your time, and we will always appreciate you for it.
You don't need to do more. Next up on the news, Harley Quinn, the animated series, Season 3 is coming to HBO Max in July. That is an official timeline now. Show's great. I think it's fucking hilarious. I really enjoy it. Like, for an adult-themed animated show,
The
that
clips
comedy
I've seen
show,
are hilarious.
it's really good, man. Like, way better than I could have imagined it being.
Yeah.
The show
Yeah.
is far better than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they keep nailing just the portrayal of the character and like what it would be like for Harley Quinn to be Harley Quinn.
And they're not afraid to take risks. Like, they don't care about revealing who Batman is because the show is focused on Harley and the shenanigans that happen around this, and so they totally make Batman like this joke of a character, basically, like that he was taking himself way too seriously, you know.
Yeah, it weirdly reminds me of the Venture Brothers. The show basically feels like what if the guys who wrote the Venture Brothers did like a Harley Quinn show.
Okay.
Yeah, animation's surprisingly similar too. I wonder if there's some common blood there.
I wonder.
So yeah, look forward to that, Harley Quinn fans. Next up on the news, this one's a point that's kind of close to my heart, but also makes me a little fearful. A new Tolkien book is coming out, as in Lord of the Rings. The book is called Fall of Numenor, based on the fall of the island of Numenor, which is like these ancient, long-lived, kind of like blessed men that were.
Of the Numenor.
Yeah. So all of you Lord of the Rings dorks out there, including myself, you can look forward to that. It's based on a bunch of individual pieces of literature that Tolkien had written about the island of Numenor and related stories about the Second Age. You can find a lot of these stories, I'm sure, in the Silmarillion and the Brothers of Isildur and all this other content that has been released by his son. However, Christopher Tolkien has passed away not too long ago. And ever since then, the estate has kind of been spread out to the public domain, more or less. And they're starting to release a lot of these, notes that were kept in the corners of a book he was writing, and
ancillary material.
Yeah, all these things like Christopher
Christopher
Tolkien hadn't vetted out and published out to everybody. So it's exciting to see that there's even
more.
He's like Tupac. He just never dies. He's still releasing books, and he's been dead for.
I mean, the amount of material that Tolkien had to create before he even wrote these stories is just astronomical.
Yeah.
He created languages, he created pantheons, he created, an entire universe. I can only imagine the stacks and stacks of papers of just notes and shorthand and
absolutely
research material that are locked in wardrobes somewhere.
It's so in depth and so deep, and you can go down so many rabbit holes with it that there are literally PhDs that you can earn.
Oh yeah.
Just in studying
his
creative
Tolkienology.
Work. Yeah.
Tolkienology.
It's like D&D as it is most likely would not exist.
Not most likely.
It just would not.
Yeah.
And I mean, not just D&D, but all modern day fantasy. If it wasn't for Tolkien, we would never have gotten Song of Ice and Fire. We wouldn't have had Narnia. We wouldn't have had any of these things because he laid the groundwork for all of these stories and kind of busted that whole genre wide open.
Yeah. Oh, he's the GOAT. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Cannot be touched.
And
he might be painful to read sometimes.
Yep.
But
George Martin can't even release this fucking last book, so
2 books.
He's
too busy doing 500 other things.
He's made a video game. He helped with the TV series that ended with 2 seasons of bullshit that he hadn't even written yet.
He's working on another TV series.
He's old and not in the best of health.
Yeah,
so there's no way he finishes that book.
He's working on
2 books.
He's working on a prequel show to a book series
that he
hasn't finished yet.
Oh my god!
Meanwhile, Tolkien spent his whole life trying to write a bunch of ancillary, content and details and languages for the books he finished.
I'm gonna build this entire world, write this one really good story, and then build more shit around it.
It's just it's all bonus from Tolkien.
Yeah.
From Martin, it's all okay, where's the rest of it?
Yeah. It's not a good look if you give your fans an IOU on the core content that you're doing other shit for.
Exactly. And the fact that he's been saying for how many years now. It's coming soon. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's not coming.
No,
Uh,
it's not coming.
I
We're
don't
never gonna see
want.
it.
I don't want him to go through what Stephen King went through to finish The Dark Tower, but he might need to go
Yes.
through what Stephen King went through to finish
I
The Dark
mean,
Tower.
It took Stephen King, 20 years to finish that? I think that was...
20 years and being hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly. But
I don't
because
think
I'm pretty sure...
Stephen King was still relatively young, though.
true.
Martin
Might not survive,
I
and if
don't
he
see-
does, maybe that'll put a fire in his ass.
Wizards and Glass came out in the late 90s, or mid-90s, and then... was it Wolves of Kala was the next one, I think, after that, and that one was... like 2010, I think.
Yeah, it was like Wolves of
Or
Kala, then
2008.
Song
I
of
think.
Susanna came out like maybe a few years after
So
that.
it was at least 10, 12 years between.
Like book 4 and
4
book
and
5
5,
out
yeah.
of 7.
Yeah.
Yes. But then he went like. He Stephen King the hell out of that. It just was like boom, 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 done.
It's like, I could die tomorrow. I have to finish this now.
Yes.
Well, you could be like the author of the Witcher books, Sapolsky. Sapolsky wrote the whole series.
Mhm.
He started with newspaper stories, short stories, and released them all. And then everybody ignored him basically for a few decades. And
And then somebody's like, I'm gonna make a video game out of these.
yeah,
Uh,
now he's all pissed off because they sold the rights for
Yep.
too little money.
I have my opinions on Sepkowski, which is, again, a whole nother fucking video.
All right, moving on. And just a reminder, that's going to be, I think it's on pre-sale right now. If you want to buy it on Amazon, ironically, the show is going to be on Amazon. You can get
Shocker.
this book that ties into the Amazon show because it's during the same age for $40. So if you're interested, you can do that, or you can just go to your public library when it comes out. Next up, we got confirmation that The Boys has been renewed for season 4. Speaking of Amazon.
I don't think
The
anybody's
boys.
surprised.
No, nobody's surprised. The
Nobody's
show is
surprised. The show's
fucking
phenomenal.
amazing. The
Oh.
comic is amazing.
Yeah.
You should watch it. You should read it.
Watch it.
Enjoy.
Read it. We will say nothing about it because we're still
Yeah.
trying to stay monetized.
Hey.
I mean,
Exactly.
assuming you're an adult, you should watch and read
If
this.
you are-
Assuming you're
If you
an
are
adult
a child,
or older
stay far
teenager.
away, but if you're a child, you probably shouldn't be listening to this anyway. So
Exactly.
Fuck you, kid.
Don't tell mom. But also maybe tell mom.
you probably should tell mom. Next up on the news, the Batman Unburied series, which is a Spotify podcast storytelling,
it was a Batman zombie show.
has been renewed for season 2.
That's a story.
It focuses on a mentally unstable Bruce Wayne, whose parents are apparently alive, and he works as a forensic detective for a hospital. But there's kind of some twists in there. Because he's mentally unstable, you kind of doubt a lot of the things that
Sure.
he thinks is going on.
Yeah.
And he ends up hunting down a criminal and all
Gonna
this
have
other
to
stuff.
check that out. That sounds very interesting.
I'm just going to say it. On the notes that we have for our show, we just have, for that part describing it, like, mentally unstable Bruce Wayne, which, as far as I was concerned, that's just Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. You don't dress up in a rubber suit and go around punching people screaming, I'm Batman, if you are mentally stable.
That's news to me.
Let alone indoctrinating children in your war on crime.
Multiple children.
Multiple children.
That's
Even
a-
after one died,
Yes,
they're like,
that's-
I don't.
I guess I could do this a couple
did
more
we
times.
ever think that the billionaire bachelor running around with orphans in spandex was a good idea?
I don't want to call him the Epstein of superheroes, but
Let's be careful here. He's got a lot of money. He'll sue us. All right. So if you are a fan of that Spotify podcast, or if you're looking for a new superhero themed podcast, you should definitely check that out. It's free on Spotify. Next up, there is a Wonder Man series. Yes, Wonder Man.
Wonder Man.
Series in development at Marvel Studios. It's based on a kind of goofy comedy character from, I think, the 60s and
I
70s.
honestly don't know anything about Wonder Man. I've heard the name before, but
Most people don't.
yeah.
well, his entire backstory is really hilariously. It's like, okay, this is comic books. I obviously see what's happening here.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful that Marvel is getting these like bottom of the barrel characters that people don't know exist or don't remember exist, and they're just trying to throw everything out there so fans get a little bit of everything. But it just signals to me how desperate they are for something to be a hit with this new generation, because all their big hitters are gone.
Yeah,
they can't
they're
really
kind
do
of
the X-Men
scraping the bottom of the barrel
because they already put an alternate version of Xavier
I mean,
out there.
yes and no.
And
Okay.
I think they're fucked until they reboot.
Yes and no. I still think that they're going to pull something out of their hat because they always do.
Yeah.
The door is open now with the whole multiverse thing that they could potentially bring in the X-Men. I'm still waiting for almost like the fallout of Multiverse of Madness. Something. I don't want to go into anything too spoilery, but I would assume that most of these people have seen it. However, I believe that a multi-dimensional door has been opened, and we're going to see something tie more of these things together into almost, like you said, it could potentially be almost like a reboot type or refresh, but that would be my assumption, is that we're going to see basically this multiverse arc go through, and my prediction is at the end we're almost going to get a House of M style everything folds back in on itself, and we're going to get one new centralized universe.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with it. Yeah, and on that point, I think that was probably the one thing that was a little disappointing to me about Multiverse of Madness, is they didn't take more opportunities.
Yes.
They really went very conservative with their opportunities.
They did, but I'm thinking that we're going to... They left the door open, and I think that we're going to see fallout that people haven't thought of yet.
I mean, it'll be really cool if they do. I thought that they were kind of going that route with Loki, the Disney Plus series,
but
and then they kind of...
We also have to realize that Marvel is not afraid of doing things slowly. Marvel has patience.
Yeah, but I'm getting old.
Yeah, fair. Marvel has
That
patience.
is a fair point.
The MCU definitely has a way of making you wait for all of those seams to connect.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that up to this point, they've done a great job of just taking things slow, kind of, making you think one thing and then doing another. On the other hand, I have lost a lot of faith in Disney to do the right thing with a lot of these properties because of what they did with Star Wars, and in particular. I know a lot of people enjoy the shows, but the
shows are fantastic.
The Rian Johnson movie was so bad, and I hated it so much that I literally have not watched a single piece of Star Wars content since that movie. Not out of principle,
Are we gonna do this?
but because I just...
we going down?
Are you going to defend the movie?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, it's so...
Oh my
God.
Okay.
Okay, let's
All
hear
right,
it. Let's
It's
hear
so
it.
bad. They went on a casino side quest for an
the-
hour of that
Yeah,
movie.
the casino side quest should have been cut.
It was the whole movie.
Fair. Okay, if we're going the casino side route, then yes, I will agree with you. That was
Unnecessary.
unnecessary. However, the biggest complaint that most people see is the portrayal of Luke in that movie.
I didn't care. I mean, the nipple milk thing was a little too much.
No, I'm talking.
But beyond that, I really didn't care.
I'm talking
that
about.
didn't bother
I'm
me.
talking about the.
They made
hero
Yoda a
f-
book burner.
Yeah, but
Yoda's a Nazi.
you're basically.
That's what they did in that movie. It was an hour-long casino side quest. They forgot that Finn was an awesome character and just sent him on a side quest because
Yes.
they couldn't write anything for him.
Yeah.
The whole movie is 8 hours of a slow car chase through space, where unconscious Leia, after her actual real-life death, floats herself back to the craft. There's just too much. And then Rose was just the worst. I'm like, the acting rose, the
At
like,
least your
forced romance. Oh
yeah.
my god!
At least your gripes about the movie are not the stereotypical ones that I've been hearing from most
Yeah.
people.
I
which
actually
is-
liked what they did with Luke.
Yeah,
where they
they-
kind of gave
it
him
was
like a darker edge.
That is a cinematic trope. That is, the hero's fall. That is a thing that happens. There are countless movies, countless stories that are made with the hero's fall.
Yeah.
So let's talk about everybody compares episode 4 and episode 7. How episode 7 is basically just a rewrite of episode 4, which, yes, more or less it is.
Yeah, that's how we get the butts in the seats for the next movie.
Exactly.
I
But
thi-
let's talk about
Yeah.
something that's people don't realize, and that's the correlation between 5 and 8. The
Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
You're gonna
I
okay.
am.
Let's hear this.
just for the main Jedi plot. I'm not talking about the other bullshit with the casino space. I'm talking about the newly discovered Jedi finds a Jedi master who is secluded, who has cut themselves off from the Force, who then ends up bonding with them to train them. It's the same fucking plot.
Yeah, it wasn't just that. I can't believe they would do this to Luke. People didn't even realize they turned Luke into Yoda again.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And that's why
But then they put Yoda in it and had him burn all the Jedi books.
I mean, Yoda,
Knowledge is not good.
is 8 my favorite Star Wars movie? No. However, I am part of the minority of Star Wars fans that I enjoy all Star Wars. I will watch every single piece of Star Wars content because it gives me more content in
You
that
poor
space.
man.
I will. Okay.
I'm just
Jar Jar Binks is god awful, and I hate everything about that character.
He's a Sith Lord.
That is a
that was canon.
that
I
is a,
so wish that was canon.
oh my god.
However-
that is a theory that not even George Lucas continued to
Yes.
entertain,
But
because he knew better.
The voice actor does, though. He still pushes it.
yeah,
I
I know.
swear to God.
I am happy for any content that will give me more stories in that universe.
Yeah, and I think the Disney Plus series is proof of that. Like,
It's fantastic.
I haven't watched them, but by all accounts, most of them are very good.
Yeah, Obi-Wan. I just finished Obi-Wan. No spoilers. That is one of the best shows I have seen.
Yeah.
They did such, because the biggest thing I was going into watching Obi-Wan is that they were going to fuck up the canon of the original movies, but they did such a good job of actually bringing more meaning to the original trilogy.
Nice.
Again, won't do any spoilers because the last episode just aired a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching this show, there are certain things in episode 4 that hit harder and make more sense. And they almost fixed errors that George Lucas did when writing that movie.
Or kind of went out of their way to give actual reasons as to why
Yes.
things went the way that they did.
Have you finished?
I haven't seen the last episode. I've
Okay.
gotten up to episode 5.
Yeah. But what they did with that was absolutely fantastic.
There is only one gripe that I have with modern Star Wars, and that's honestly with Boba Fett. My entire gripe that I have with Boba Fett is that why did we bring Boba Fett back?
Fan service.
Well, yes, of course. We're fucking Star Wars. We're
Yes.
bringing everything Star Wars back. Why did we make a Book of Boba Fett show knowing full goddamn well that everything that should have been given to Boba Fett had been given to a brand new Mandalorian in The Mandalorian?
Do we need to talk about what happens halfway through the Book of Boba Fett?
Oh, you mean the entrance of the Power Rangers? Why?
No, that's not what I was talking about. again, spoiler alert
Yeah.
for this Book of Boba Fett. I'm talking about the fact that they make it halfway through, and then they have the last 3 episodes where Boba Fett is in a total of 15 minutes of the half of the episodes of the Boba Fett show. They basically make it 3 episodes, and it's almost like, oh shit, this show's gonna fail. Let's bring the Mandalorian back in.
Yep, that's immediately what we did, and
That's awkward.
I think we didn't realize until like halfway through that, I mean, I love Tamara Morrison and what
Yeah,
he
so
did
do I.
with
He's
creating
fantastic.
Jango Fett, but the man is old.
Yeah.
He's been doing this a while, and
And
my God, does it
like
show
a
in the show.
panther. I mean, I enjoyed the Book of Boba Fett, but let's be honest, the Book of Boba Fett is Mandalorian Season 2.5.
And that's exactly what it is. It's like, oh, the side story. We introduced Boba Fett again,
Yeah.
and now we have to answer, oh, okay, so he got out of the pit. Okay, what happened after that? Why is he here? And what's with that weird stick?
Yeah. No, it's absolutely just a filler season because they needed to move the plot of The Mandalorian from the hole that they wrote themselves in at the end of Season 2.
Yeah.
And they needed a way to clear it out so that way Season 3 could start fresh.
Right. And it's like, okay, yep, we totally separated these 2 core characters. Now we're going to give them a perfect excuse to bring them back together
Right.
again, so we can actually have, like, for real Season 3.
Like I said, I am a huge fan, especially of the TV shows. They're the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
I think Dave Filoni and my mind just blanked.
Yeah, Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau, thank you.
Yeah.
My mind just completely blanked. I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have done a fantastic job. I think Jon Favreau should be in charge of everything.
As he
Kennedy,
should.
step down.
Kennedy, please step
You
down.
ruined Star Wars for me.
Yeah,
So
if we have
if
the
anybody's
guy
going
who,
to step down,
yes, let her step down and let the guy who
Yes.
made Iron Man
Yes.
a B-list character into
Yes.
like the super mega star of Marvel, and have him like bring Star Wars like back.
And the fact that they took
and please, this time, plan the 3 movies ahead of time.
Exactly.
Don't just make it up as you're going. And adding a new director.
the fact that he took, the cartoons, Clone Wars, Rebels, he took these that Dave Filoni worked and did a fantastic job in, but nobody ever watched them because of the fact that, and I say nobody, that's a broad statement, a lot of people watch these shows,
Yeah.
but the vast majority of Star Wars fans refuse to watch them because they were animated, and we don't want to watch cartoons because
No.
we're adults.
I mean, I honestly tried to go back and watch a lot of them. They're hard to watch.
Clone
man.
Wars
like
takes
they were
a while.
they're very clearly made for
But
kids.
the beginning of them do.
Yeah.
See, I recently went back and I watched Clone Wars. I'm about 2/3 of the way through with Rebels right now. Clone Wars takes a good season and a half to kick in.
I couldn't even
And
make it. I was like, this is so cringe.
Once it kicks in, it's definitely not a kid show anymore.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
the last couple seasons is not kid friendly.
It's
However-
unfortunate that that's how much of a buy-in you have to get into,
Yes.
but
It's like
they
Final
def-
Fantasy 13.
Y-
You only got to play 40 hours of the game before
Right.
it gets good.
yeah.
The fact that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have taken these characters and these plot lines that they created, that Filoni created for these cartoon shows, that nobody really believed were like canon.
Yeah.
They were just like little extra stories, and then they made it all canon with
Yeah.
these shows.
It's like they found a pretty seamless way to like actually fold them all in
Yes.
like the live action. And let's be real, that's what we've all wanted, is just more live action of this.
Exactly.
But going back to the original point there, Wonder Man series is in development at Marvel Studios.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Again, we
Tangent City.
were trying to make this show shorter, and we keep going on
We are
these
going to have
wonderful
a lot
tangents.
of editing to do, and by we I mean that guy.
Yeah, with we're getting back after 2 years. We're gonna have some
There's a lot to get
restructuring.
I'm
to
sure
do.
next week will be a lot faster,
And
just because we've
you-
already had these conversations once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You bring in a new guy and expect things to go quicker.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Next up on the news, Titan Comics has officially taken over the rights for Conan the Barbarian, who was previously owned by Marvel as far as the comic book printing rights, and I think before that it was Dark Horse. They have a new series that's about to premiere in March of 2023, so look forward to that from Titan Comics. On related news, Marvel has purchased the rights to print Planet of the Apes comics, and those are set to premiere also in 2023, although they haven't given a specific month. As far as comic books go, I don't really think that Planet of the Apes has much pull, but Conan the Barbarian still has some pretty strong pull, surprisingly.
So you're saying my dreams of a Wolverine versus Conan are off the table, but I can get Wolverine versus some
Versus
futuristic
Caesar.
Some apes.
Caesar. I couldn't remember his name.
Yes, please. Let's put Andy Serkis in
Deathmatch.
like another
Yes.
fucking movie.
I mean, why not? Andy Serkis is phenomenal at everything he does.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
I'd watch it.
Yep.
So comic book fans, look forward to that. And I think Titan Comics definitely got the better end of that group of deals.
Absolutely.
Next up on the news, there is a new Trigun series coming. It's called Trigun Stampede. It will be a 3D animation remake, and it is set for release in 2023, at least for this first season. I don't know if it'll be multiple seasons, but they are implying that there will be more if
Is that anime?
people
That
receive it
sounds
well.
Anime.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
it's
Oh, okay.
definitely
For
anime.
the-
from
you being
the-
such a sci-fi nerd,
Yeah.
you should watch Trigun, the original
I
series.
never really got into anime. Anime is just
There's
I don't know.
okay.
There's an era of anime that I think everybody can get into. That's not the
Fair.
cringy fan service anime of modern days,
okay.
and it's not the like
There
overly
was
simple.
one anime that I got into one time, and that was back when G4 TV was a thing.
Mhm.
And they had a show that I would watch, and then afterwards there was like they just had this like anime hour, and they would just play random animes. But I'd be like playing video games or something, probably World of Warcraft or something, and whatever show I was watching would end, and then this anime would start. And they played through this one run that I actually started paying attention to. No idea what the anime was. No idea what it was called. All I remember was there were 3 girls, and they had the power to control paper. There was like the one girl made like little beasts out of paper.
Interesting.
The other one had a bow that she made out of paper, and then the like littlest one was like a little Wolverine with paper, where she just ran around and cut people, like, gave people paper cuts more or less.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. I'll have to look that
I
up.
have no idea
I'll put
what
it
it
in the
is.
edit if I can find it.
Yeah.
I have
Sound
no-
off in the comments
If
if
you're
you know
watching
which
the
one we're
video.
talking
I
about.
have no idea what it was. It was like the early 2000s. I just remember sitting in my apartment playing video games, and this show came on G4.
Huh. It's interesting. Now I'm really curious. I gotta look it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think especially if you're a big sci-fi fan, you'll really like the era of Trigun in terms of anime, because a lot of it was sci-fi, and a lot of
Yeah.
it was good, like really good. Like a lot of the kind of universally accepted best animes of all time were in that era. Cowboy Bebop is the one that stands out the most. Evangelion
I
is
know
another
that one. I've heard
stands
that
out.
one. I've never seen it.
I'm not as big on Evangelion, but people love it. Cowboy Bebop is my favorite of all time, and then Trigun was another one that was kind of Western, but also sci-fi in a
See,
weird way.
Yeah.
I'm of
But
the-
it's a fun way.
I'm of the age range where when I think anime, instantly I just think of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
That's
I-
what comes into my head, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to sit here and watch people go for like 30 minutes.
I'm a dork. Yeah, for nostalgic reasons, I still love Dragon Ball Z, but I think Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, maybe less so on Trigun, but definitely
Yeah.
good. And Evangelion are like the big 3 that you can really get into. I'd say if you're gonna start with one, start with Cowboy Bebop, because that has the least like anime bullshit.
Babby's first anime over here.
And I really think, and you can watch like one episode
Sure.
and feel full and like be like, oh, that was a great half hour. I can move on with my day. It's not tied to this big overarching story until the very end.
Yeah. Have you seen Firefly?
Oh yeah.
then you're going to love Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Specifically the anime. The show on Netflix,
Don't watch
Didn't
the
that
live
get
action.
canceled after like
One
a
season.
week after it was out?
yeah, it did.
Live action animes always suck. It's just universally.
Responses have been mixed at best.
Yeah.
I would like to apologize personally to Travis Willingham for bashing on Dragon Ball Z, though. You're still my favorite person.
Got to keep those ties, man. But yeah, honestly, if you can find the time to like watch a half hour, those three shows are very adult oriented animes. They're not meant for kids. That's why they're on late night television.
Babby's first anime.
Yeah, well,
I think
yeah.
I think you'll genuinely have a really good experience with it.
One episode of Trigun to see if it's right for you.
Trigun is good, but there's still some kind of anime tropes with Trigun that that it's not as universally beloved as like Evangelion or Cowboy Bebop.
Sure.
But it's close.
You'll enjoy it.
It's very close.
If you can enjoy the other two, you'll definitely enjoy Trigun. Moving on. Journey Through the Radiant Citadel has released its first chapter publicly in a preview that was released about 3 days ago. The full book is set to release on July 19th. So you guys want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, so latest edition. I actually have the thing pulled up here. It's easier for me to look this up. So Journey Through the Radiant Citadel is the latest D&D adventure compilation put out by Wizards of the Coast. They released the first chapter on D&D Beyond 3 days ago, so that would have been on the 21st of June. Edit. It's an anthology of adventures going from levels 1 through 14. Don't know a lot about it other than it takes place in the ethereal plane. The Radiant Citadel stands bright as a bastion of hope. So yada yada yada. First chapter, like I said, which is a level 1 adventure, is available now on D&D Beyond. I think you have to get it in the next day or two.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pre-order type deal going with it.
Not necessarily pre-order. If you have a D&D Beyond account, you could just go in there and hit the claim button. But all you get is the first chapter. It's like what they did with the Vecna thing last week or last month.
It's for the next couple of days. If you click on the thing now, it can be yours for free.
But just because it was out there, I'm sure there are PDF versions available just about anywhere on the internet because piracy is a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks interesting. I mean, it's
Is this something that can be purchased in a physical form?
Yes. Once it's released, they'll have a physical book for it too, I'm sure.
For those who can't wait, you can get the first chapter right now.
Yes. It's tying. I'm curious. I don't know how much I'm excited about this because it's very much ties into what they've been doing with the Spelljammer.
Right.
The pirates in space, more or less. So for Babby's first D&D over here. So D&D Wizards of the Coast, the owners of Dungeons & Dragons, announced last month, I think, about the...
Yeah, it was roughly about last month.
Yeah, the Spelljammer campaign setting coming out soon, which is a callback to something they did in a new, I want to say it was 3.5 or 3.
Yeah.
Possibly 2. Where it's all more or less pirates in space. So it's the astral plane, the astral sea, and you're more or less have airships that go from realm to realm to realm. And Radiant Citadel just kind of falls into that whole thing. It's all this, which, I don't know. For me, D&D does not go pirates in space.
Right. For a very, almost one-to-one visual, representation of what Spelljammer looks like, if you've seen the trailer for the upcoming Thor Love and Thunder,
yes,
those ships that are pulled out into space by goats, you can pretty much have that same experience in Spelljammer.
Real quick, try and say the goats' names.
Oh.
In the original Norwegian, not the English translation.
God.
There's 72 consonants and 3 vowels, I think.
Hinga-dinga-durgan. That's all you need.
Yeah.
I just spoke the entire language.
Okay, I don't know them right now, but I am looking them up later.
We've now alienated all of
100%.
Scandinavia. You're welcome.
All of you.
The visualization I always see is, if you remember the Disney movie Treasure Planet.
Oh, that's another really good analog for what it would
Yeah.
look like.
I honestly don't know if I ever watched it. I remember all of the commercials because they were on constantly when I was, fairly
That's
young.
Disney trying to push their 3D
I
studio.
don't. I remember watching the other movie that was very similar that came out around that time, which is Atlantis.
Yep.
And
Same thing.
Titan
But I
A,
don't remember-
around that time too.
Oh, Titan AE? Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally forgot about
Because
Titan AE.
Things always have to come out in multiples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite example is The House on Haunted Hill and The Haunting. Came out at the
Oh.
exact same time.
Yeah, that's
about
true.
the same thing. One of them was god awful. One of them was really good, and I can never remember which one was which.
Was that, was
I think it was
the-
The Haunting on Hill House was the good one.
Okay, I don't.
that was the TV series.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
just
the
it was
Netflix
just
series.
The Haunting. I think was the.
Yeah.
I just remember one of them was like PG-13. One of them was R. The PG-13 one was terrible, absolutely terrible. It was the stereotypical corny, cheesy horror movie.
Yeah, as they are wont to make.
And-
Wasn't that around the same time as 13 Ghosts? Didn't that come out?
13
right around then,
probably.
God.
I feel like
think
it was
so.
a similar scenario.
Yeah.
13 ghosts that were trapped in a cellar with 13
Yeah,
ghosts
yeah,
that they
yeah.
found a way to trap or whatever, and they're stupid. Had
Vaguely
Shaggy
remember that.
from Scooby Doo.
They would.
So, moving on from our cinematic similarities.
Cinematic similarities. That should be a segment title right there.
Cinematic similarities. We just call out stuff that came out at the same time. Or there's those two asteroid movies too.
Yeah,
that are always brought
Armageddon
up.
and Deep Impact.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yep. Came out at the
It's
exact
so
same
true.
One was good, one was bad. Seems to always happen.
Time. Yep.
Uh,
And one had Aerosmith.
Moving into the final topic of the show, final news item. This one's pretty sad, pretty devastating for a lot of comic book fans. Tim Sale has passed away at age 66. They're kind of being coy with the details of what led to the kidney failure, but the official cause of death is kidney failure. He was hospitalized, and then a few days later he had passed, and they announced it on several venues in terms of social media. By all accounts, he was extremely beloved in the comic book community. Famous as a comic book artist, most famous for doing Batman The Long Halloween, but did significant content for DC, Marvel, and did a few things for Dark Horse as well throughout his career. Really sad, really awful news. Unfortunately, we don't have many details about the nature of the illness that he was afflicted by, or whatever incurred the kidney failure. But the heart goes out to him and his family and friends, and anybody else who really enjoyed his content and the amazing artwork he did throughout his great career. So, thoughts out to Tim Sale's family and anybody affected by his passing.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the pairing that he did with, I think the one writer that he worked with the most was Jeff Loeb.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the Long Halloween being the biggest one that he did. But there was actually, and this gets into my favorite Marvel character, there was one 4-issue miniseries with Wolverine and Gambit. It was a really good, a mystery that they did that for some weird reason took place in London. And they were tracking some kind of, I think it was a Jack the Ripper style killer. And it just occurred to me, only Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale could come up with a story like that and make it work. work.
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful artist, wonderful creator. Really will be missed in the community. Clearly was a great human being and made a big impression on a lot of people. So, well, that wraps up the news for this week. Sorry we went a little long. We're trying to make the show a little shorter, a little easier to digest, but we had a lot to talk about. Obviously, getting to know new member Nick, who's I think been a great addition to the show. Really enjoyed having you here. Hope to see you a lot more going forward. Before we end the show, we want to go through our comic cover of the week. This week it goes to the Sabretooth variant by Marco Mastrazzo. This is a great comic cover done in a very oil paint style. Dynamic shot of Wolverine in his kind of 80s Australian wear, as I like to refer to it.
Yeah.
The brown and gold is classic. That's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a great look. I know everybody likes the Jim Lee, blue-yellow combination.
Michigan Wolverines.
Michigan. There's Australian and then there's Michigan.
I will take the Australian version over the Michigan Wolverine anytime.
Yeah, I mean, it's
no offense to Michigan.
It's definitely iconic, but I agree with you. I think the brown and yellow looks way better. Really cool. And then you have this awesome shot of Sabretooth in his stereotypical bomber jacket style furry wear. But yeah, just a really awesome dynamic shot. It's everything you'd want in a piece of artwork if you wanted to purchase and frame this comic. I'm going to gripe about this until the day I die. Please stop putting the barcodes on the front of the fucking cover.
It takes up so much real estate. It really
does.
does.
I don't know why any company still does this. Marvel needs to stop doing it. Put the barcode on the back. It doesn't hurt anything to do that. So, but yeah, great artwork, great job, Mark Mastrazzo. We look forward to seeing more from you. And we will feature you on our social medias. Remember, you can find us on htbvids.com. You can find us on Facebook /HitTheBooks. You can find us on at htbvids on Twitter. We will be posting to Instagram and I assume TikTok in the near future, so you can look forward to that if you use those social media platforms. We are on YouTube, of course, where you can always find our channel and find all our past content, including reviews, kind of historical reviews with our comic movie master list. A lot of shenanigans in there. We're coming up with a few new ideas. We may be doing some streaming on Twitch or Facebook live. We may have some kind of watch-along style, maybe kind of Mystery Science Theater style content things that we can do in the future. We're still trying to work out how we can do that with, obviously owner rights and making sure we're not getting too many strikes on any channels. So please look forward to all that. If you got any suggestions, constructive criticism, or things to offer the show, please offer those to us in the comments sections. I'll be sure to read them. I read every one of them. Please, if you have the time, give us a nice 5-star rating on your podcast service of choice. It really does help us out with the algorithms. If you're on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe so you can always keep up with the latest content. Even if you have nothing but bad things to say about the show, give us a 5-star, and maybe I'll read you on the show. So please reach out to us if you got anything else to offer. Keep an eye on our social medias as those come out. Do you guys got anything else you want to plug? You want to plug that D&D podcast one more time before we leave?
So starting hopefully early to mid-July, depending on scheduling, and 4 more sessions, which is an inside joke.
No, we're in the end game now. Yeah. We've got this one that's coming up Tuesday, and then one more.
Yeah, and then we'll probably take a week or two to settle everything, but twitch.tv/thosenatural1s, all spelled out, also on YouTube, and soon to be on all other social medias as well.
Coming soon,
once I take the time to make them.
There you have it, everybody. That has been another mediocre edition of Hit the Books podcast.
Want me to say it?
You gotta say it. It's tradition.
Okay, I'm gonna say it. mediocre.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Au revoir. I'm just now figuring out how to put this fucking thing on.
How were you wearing it beforehand?
I was wearing it the other way. Where it's just like...
Yeah, see, that's what I was talking about beforehand. I was like, put it on this way first, and then I was like, no, that's not right.
No, it was
You gotta
like...
put it around this way.
It's like,
Holy shit! I had no idea.
You didn't have
I was wearing it on top.
No, it goes around the back of your... No, it looks like that.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just now figured that out.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like the plastic
Yeah,
was
it's supposed
digging
to-
into the side of my ear the whole
It's
time.
It's supposed to
You're
sit
gonna get
back
through it.
there.
I swear to God, we're gonna get through it.
I had no
But
idea.
now-
I'm glad you pointed that out, man. I would have done that next week.
Oh my god, this feels so much better.
Yeah.
Like, significantly better.
that makes so much
Oh
more
my
sense.
God,
I wish I had realized that.
See, it's gonna be funny if anyone comments on, hey, all of their mics are placed different.
Hey,
what happened?
Mine was.
They're not
mine
going to
was
see it because of the
fucking normal.
headsets.
Okay,
probably.
you had yours right.